Commissioner. During the lunch break, I had the opportunity to sit down with the team presenting this presentation, and I've explained to them that I've provided this presentation this morning already to the Commission for ease of reference. And as a result of that, we have agreed, not by trying to cut them short in their presentation, but for practical purposes, that first of all, the Commission will be in a position to ask them any questions arising from the presentation, but that they, in their presentation, will just highlight certain aspects which they want really to emphasize. And that the gentleman who asked me to tender his apology for arriving late, and that is not his problem, it was a result of my rescheduling of the presentation. Mr. Visser is here, and it was agreed that Mr. van Driel will carry on, and if he needs assistance or clarity on his responses, that it will be provided to him by way of a note, and that he will then present it. If it is okay with the Commission, we will proceed in that manner.
That's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Mr. van Driel, you can then proceed with your presentation, paragraph 8, titled the VBS case.
Mr. Commissioner, I'm sure most people at the moment and yourselves have a lot of knowledge because VBS Bank has been in the news due to the curatorship placed upon them by the Reserve Bank. However, I would just like to make a few notes, main notes about it. VBS Bank was, of course, not very highly capitalized, but then they got the idea in their head that they want municipalities to invest with them, which is against the law because municipalities may not invest in a mutual bank. As it is, the GEP has a 26% interest of shares in VBS, and the PIC has placed Mr. Nisani and Magula as directors to represent the PIC and GEP at the VBS board. The first amount of money that was deposited for the 26% was 300 million rand, and later on it appears that there was a credit line of another 350 million rand given to VBS, and it's very likely that that refers to very unlawful action which happened where the VBS Bank was used as a platform by, excuse the language, any Dick, Tom and Harry to buy diesel for Eskom, because Eskom was then in big trouble and they had to use diesel generators to keep the lights on. At that time, towards 2015 and probably 2016, Eskom said that they were spending 10 billion rand on diesel per year. Then coming to back to the VBS Bank, is after they received around about 2 billion rand unlawfully from municipalities, they probably thought that because Mr. Zuma borrowed 7.8 million from them, and that they got this 2 billion rand from the municipalities, they thought probably the time for the big party has now started. And one of the big instigators was the chairperson of Vele, and of course the the vendor king, was also involved. There was another senior official of Valley also involved, and those three were the brains behind the idea that the VBS Bank should satisfy the avarice and the needs of people who want to enrich themselves, and therefore they practically trespass every rule that any bank should have had in place. There was nothing wrong, nothing right that they did. They did everything wrong. Together with the 300 and then 350 million, it means that the PIC was exposed to the sum of around about 650 million rand towards the VBS Bank. That's now the vendor bank.
Okay, you can now proceed. I think we agreed that you will deal with paragraph 11.
Mr. Commissioner, then the cash flow from the fund. The cash flow of the fund since about 2016 was in trouble because they could not maintain a reasonable amount of funding reserves in order to honor their commitments for beneficiaries. If we can go
when
to
you say,
appendix
when you talk of cash flow from the fund, which fund is it? HEP or PIC?
We're talking about, Mr. Commissioner, we're talking about the cash flow of the Government Employees Fund, Pension Fund. Our auditing specialist, Mr. Christo van Dijk, he made some very good arithmetic, and then he determined that since about 2016, the contributions coming into the HEP funds are not sufficient to pay all the beneficiary categories. Apart from that, it was also pointed out and found by him that the interests and the dividends coming in is also not enough to cover operational costs, and that those interests and dividends eventually had to help to pay the benefits. The result of that was ultimately that less new investments could be made because there was not enough cash available to make reasonable, good new investments.
You refer to Appendix E, and the commissioners will have a look at that as proof of the statement. Can we then go to item 1.2, ineffective governance?
Mr. Commissioner, yes, the ineffective governance is also a problem from AMAGP's point of view, because both GEP and the PIC board started talking to us reasonably well, and we had some meetings, and we even invited them to attend some of our annual general meetings. However, in July 2017, we came to a meeting with the PIC, senior people of the PIC and GEP, and with long negotiations before the time, we put some questions to them which they said they would answer. At the end of July 2017, when we came to that meeting, they suddenly decided that they're not going to answer those questions anymore. We considered this as very impolite, and that they clearly did not have a good idea of protocol and communication. We'll come to the communication, which they also tapped themselves on the shoulder with, saying that their communication is very good. In that case, it was not very good. Can I go on with the trust?
Yeah.
As far as trust is concerned, due to the PIC and GEP's way of dealing with, I'm a GPA as a representative of a reasonable amount of pensioners, and we have undertaken that we will also work for all serving members at 1.3 million who are working in government at the moment.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you, Mr. Van Driel. Are you just representing the white interests in the fund, or are you representing all the interests in the fund?
Mr. Commissioner, yes, we are presenting everybody because we've also gone through careers in government, various state departments, and we considered it very important that junior people now, for instance, in the Army or the Navy or wherever, or a very junior clerk in a government department, if they are now done in and their pension fund is damaged to the extent where the railway or Transnet pension fund was deteriorating, that it would be extremely unfair if those people, when they come to where we are at the moment as pensioners, and they suddenly find out that that promise of a pension, which was a service condition when they joined, will not be there anymore. Therefore, we sincerely believe that we are looking after the interest of each and every one that are members or serving members of the Government Employees Pension Fund.
Thank you. Can you deal with paragraph 16, sustainability of the fund?
Mr. Commissioner, if we can, with the sustainability of the fund, if you can move to the very last annexure, which is a new one which we added for the simple reason that the 2018 annual report of GEP only came out officially at the end of November last year, and our auditing specialist, Mr. Christo van Dijk, then had to do all that analysis, and he came up with a new with a new what's it fall over it?
Sustainability.
It's a new sustainable document. Just give me a chance to get to that document, please. It is then the last annexure which we added to the main document, and it starts with GEP's 2018 annual report review. And Mr. van Dijk then concentrated, obviously, mainly on the sustainability of the fund. Somewhere here, I think he has a summary. Yeah, there's a summary, and I think, not to take too much of your time, we may possibly look at the summary. He says the long-term funding ratio is less than 100% for 12 years in a row. The pension liability increases cannot be quantified because the 2018 actual evaluation was not completed in time. The production capacity of investments has reduced. Interest on investments has not kept pace with the growth of investments overall. Escalating investment expenses versus reduced returns. They actually regarded the below expected investment returns in 2016 already as a significant strain on the fund. It does appear that the investments has already reached the point of diminishing returns. The net pre-retirement discount rate was reduced again, and this impacts the pension liabilities. If we can just look at figures, Mr. Commissioner, things are changing very fast, but it is around about 90 billion rand which is needed by this time each year to pay the benefits of pensioners and the other categories of benefits. The contributions from the government, let's say the contributions of the employer and the employees is not enough. It's about 2%, 1.5% to 2% below what it should be in order to maintain that kind of funding. And then due to that, as I explained before, some of the interest and dividends had to be used to make up the difference between what came in and what had to be paid out.
Thank you. And can we then jump to item 1.15, which is an important part of your presentation, dealing with the governance model that you would like to see in future.
Which one is it? 1.15. Yes, sir. Governance model.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chair, yes, the governance model is also a problem. As we have explained before, is that due to the different laws applicable to both the GEF on the one side and to the PIC on the other side, there's a conflict of interest in that, and that causes a situation where the PIC would sometimes manipulate or articulate things which they want to do, which is not really included in the mandate of the GEF.
If you can look at paragraph 24, where you recommend or suggest the division of the mandate. Can you deal with that?
34?
24.
Oh, 24. Mr. Commissioner, we have come to the conclusion, due to a number of things that went wrong at the PIC, whilst the PIC and both GEP for many years had very good evaluations also from a Canadian company, international company in Canada, that things were going wrong to the extent that it cannot be tolerated anymore, that the PIC is the main and the only investment agent for the GEP. Just to mention, for instance, the things that had gone wrong at the VBS Bank, the oversight was not there of the representatives from the PIC who sat on the board of the VBS. Both of them, according to press releases and Advocate Tau's later finding, was that both of them apparently received bribes of around about 7 million rand. Now, if you place directors at an outside company where you have an interest in, and even those directors then get involved in monkey tricks, if I may call it that, then it is not good for an organization like the PIC or the GEP to be associated with that kind of thing. So the oversight was not good, and we don't know. They should have reported on a regular basis, say 2 weekly or so, to the management or the board of the PIC. Apparently that did not happen because this wrongdoing at the VBS was going on for a long time. And it is very sad that eventually the two directors that were placed there on behalf of the PIC and the GEP, that they also got involved in being corrupted and so on. And there is no legal reason why the PIC should manage all the funds of the GEP. And it would probably be, there are 4 bullets, it would probably be efficiency, greater control over investment and professionalism. Risks, smaller spread investment are likely to be done, and prices, best cost, can be negotiated, diminishing the potential for political influence.
Thank you. If you can then deal, you also have something to say.
So, we heard in this commission that there's about 200 billion which is externally managed that the PIC has given to other fund managers. Are you suggesting that that money shouldn't be allocated by the PIC, but it should be done by the GEPF? Because there is some money which is managed, by, other managers, but they get it from the PIC. Are you saying that maybe that should be done by the the pension fund, the government pension fund, directly, GPF?
Commissioner, if I understand you correctly, you're asking me whether other investors and brokers with a good record should also be involved in the investment of the funding which are at the PIC on behalf of GEP. Is that what you are saying, sir?
Yes, I'm saying that there is money which is managed by outside managers, but from the PIC side.
Yes, Commissioner, that is our idea, that there should be a spread of funding to brokers and investors that have very good records to actually do those investments on behalf of GEP. There are many of those, and there are also very good black investment brokers, which we think could be used for that. And some of it's only a very small percentage of those that have been used by the PIC up to now, who did not make a very good success of it. But generally speaking, it was reasonable, because they were then subcontractors to the PIC to do actual investments. But our feeling is that that contracting of other brokers and investors should be done directly by the GEP.
Can you just get a moment here, Mr.
Mr. Commissioner, it brings us back to the conflict of interest due to the two different laws, that the GEP and its trustees has a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the funds are invested to the best benefit of its members and the pensioners. Whilst in the case of the PIC, because they are an SOE of the state, that they will be doing the job or the instructions which is given to them by the government as an SOE, and that sometimes is in conflict with the fiduciary responsibility to grow the fund.
Are you suggesting that in our recommendations we should suggest or recommend that the GEPF funds should not all be administered by the PIC but by itself, or part of those funds? What are you suggesting?
Exactly, Mr. Commissioner. That is our feeling, and due to the troubles we've been having, for instance, like not only bad investments, but confidentiality, not willing to disclose information when we ask for it, that we feel that that would be to the best interest of the Government Employees Pension Fund, to all its members, to the pensioners, and to the pensioners in future generations, 40 to 50 years from now.
But why can't the members of the GEPF, in their meeting, whether it's annual general meeting or whatever, give that direction, that we now say that some of the funds of the fund must be administered by the fund, it must decide to use other agents in order to invest the funds?
We'll answer you in a minute, please, sir. Mr. Commissioner, you have summarized it correctly. However, we still feel strongly that the trustees of the GEP are responsible to oversee these investments and to make sure that the investments are done to the best interests of the members and the pensioners. On the other hand, the PIC is an organization, an SOE of the state. And the PIC will probably try to do the development roles which the state would expect from them. And as we have explained before, those development roles of the PIC has become huge in the meantime. Because every time the state or the government is in trouble and they don't have cash to do something, then they put pressure on the board of the PIC for it to be used as a piggy bank to do the development role of other SOEs, like for instance the Empowerment Fund.
Do you know of any law that prescribes that the funds of the GEPF must be given to the PIC for it to invest them? Is there any law that directs that?
Mr. Commissioner, no, there is no hard and fast rule or law for that matter that all the funds must be given to the PIC from the GEPF to do the investments. In the mandate and in the investment policy statement, there are efforts in order to indicate that the PIC should actually follow the mandate as is given to them and which is part of the investment policy. But however, in spite of that, the PIC has one agenda and the GEPF has another agenda.
Thanks. Notwithstanding the point about the two different obligations, it's not necessarily agendas, but two mandates. The question, I think, there's certainly something that could be looked up from the legal team, because there are explicit requirements where funds coming into the Treasury or wherever have to be invested. So I think if we could just look at this question of obligation, again, part of it would just be to get the accuracy about where funds must be invested in terms of which law, and whether it's an obligation in relation to the GEPF or practice that has developed. I think it just needs some clarity there. But secondly, would it be possible, you've said that there's been an unwillingness to disclose information in the engagements with the PIC. Can we ask you to provide in due course to the evidence team to look at exactly where they have declined or obfuscated responses? So what information were you seeking and clarity were you seeking that you did not get satisfactory answers to? I think it would be very useful for us to have a sense of where there has been a non-response or an inadequate response.
Commissioner, can I go into the last question, please? Yes, there is a serious problem in the case of both those organizations that used the excuse of confidentiality not to answer our questions. In Appendix A or B, you would notice that there's a whole trail, record of letters to GEPF, which we have written to them, and where we very often get more of a lecture than we get the detail that we ask for. In the case of the PIC, we have also written a couple of letters to them, which unfortunately they have flatly ignored. Because at the meeting at the end of July 2017, the GEPF was not very happy that we also communicate with the PIC, because they say it's their investment arm, we shouldn't communicate with them. Eventually we decided that that was a kind of intimidation, and that we will not listen to that. However, in spite of that, the letters afterwards, which we wrote to the PIC to get answers, for instance, on the Survey Company investments, for instance, on VBS, and for instance, on the Air and Energy project, was never answered. And we came to the conclusion that those questions were too difficult to answer, therefore they decided they will not answer them. Wat? Commissioner, if I may come back to the first part of your question. Due to the fact that we could not get answers for the excuse of confidentiality and secrecy, we then used another avenue, and that was the public protector. We went to the public protector and we gave them a number of issues which we consider problematic. The public protector then undertook that they would attempt to get the PIC, the GEF, and ourselves together around the table so that we could discuss it. And unfortunately, we've not come to that point where we can actually do it, but the public protectors investigators have assured us that they are still working on that one.
You also had something to say about, in paragraph 25, about the qualifications, experience, and character of trustees, members of the PIC board.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is obviously quite a sensitive matter, and through what we are trying to say in this paragraph, we are not saying that the board at PIC is incompetent, or that they're not doing their work properly, or that they are not well enough qualified to do their work. We are simply concerned that both at the PIC and the trustees at the GEF must be better evaluated and appointed into those positions. And we then say that minimum requirements are to be considered as members of the Board of Trustees, and absolute disqualification of board members should be determined. For example, political relationships, absence of investment experience, aspects that reflect negatively on the person's integrity.
Thank you. And then we can move to then we can move to the last part of the presentation, and that is your conclusions from paragraph 34 onward.
Mr. Commissioner,
It's paragraph 34, Mr. Commissioner.
the purpose and the priority of the GEF is, according to the law, the stewardship of funds belonging to the funds, that's the GEF's funds members, pensioners and their dependents, in a sustainable and equitable manner. The fund is not a piggy bank to support risky, politically inspired transformation projects or to save bankrupt SOEs. The risky influences and apparent interference of politicians and those politically connected must be urgently eliminated. The primary responsibility and accountability for the fund lies with the GEP's Board of Trustees. The very important directional and controlling fiduciary role they should play according to the relevant law is apparently neglected. The present impression is that the PIC is in control of the fund instead of the GEP. The management of the PIC and the Board of Trustees of the GEP have certain fiduciary responsibilities in respect of reporting poor governance or negligence as set out in the relevant laws. If they violated these principles, it has become time for the persons to be held accountable. As set out above, there are a number of suspicious transactions, investments, more so because the cash flow is unhealthy and the sustainability of the fund is under pressure. The AMAGP, acting for the sake of the members, has reasonable questions which are not answered satisfactorily by the GEP and the Board of Trustees. The AMAGP is of the opinion that insufficient accountability, as well as the professed confidentiality of action and transactions vis-à-vis the members of the fund, has probably led to the situation in which the PIC finds itself today. The impression that the AMAGP receives from the PIC is one of opacity, insufficient accountability, and possible tampering. The primacy of the shareholders of the fund, that is the members, is not respected. It is a sign of disregard that members are largely kept in the dark, creating a breeding ground for mistrust and fertile potential for poor oversight. If the fund, such as the Railway Fund, becomes unsustainable, it would lead to an increased tax burden. If the government cannot fulfill the guarantee to the fund, it will also lead to a catastrophe among pensioners, most of which depend largely on their pensions. Due to the size of the fund, it would have a significantly adverse impact on the economy. It appears that the PIC creates the impression that they employ rigorous decision-making processes, transparency studies, and in light of the above information, as well as failures such as the African Bank, Steinhoff, and VBS, this is highly questionable. Urgent attention should be given to both the process and apply the potential inference. If I go back to the previous paragraph, paragraph 14, in there we can include Eden Energy, independent media, Ajo, Isibaja, SNS refineries in Mozambique, 2 parts of Paid F, managed by Harith and Lebashe, where Mr. Chepa Mashlule is involved. Abrash, a company in Dubai. Kilimanjaro Sakumnoto, who were loaned the money to purchase shares in Total South Africa. VBS Bank, and SOEs like Eskom, Transnet, Sunroll, and the Trans-Caledon project.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. That concludes the presentation, unless there are further questions from the Commission to the presenter.
Tell me, the organization is the AMAGP. Is your organization represented on the board of GEP? Sorry, when I said on HEP, I meant the board of GEPF.
Yeah, that's how it was understood. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Mr. Commissioner, we have one pensioner representative as part of the trustees. He's a 17th trustee at the HEP, and that is Dr. Frans Leroux. We feel strongly that for 430,000 pensioners or beneficiaries, only one trustee to represent the pensioners is not good enough. And you were also asking, Mr. Commissioner, about yearly meetings and so on. There's no such thing at HEP as a yearly general meeting. They only give out annual reports, and sometimes those annual reports are very late. For instance, last year's annual report up till the end of March only came out at the end of November. What also happened, both with the PIC and the HEP last year, is normally they had a proper time slot at the Standing Committee of Finance in Parliament. This past year, they slipped them in, and we didn't even know about it. We normally have people in Cape Town that attend those meetings. We didn't even know about it. So there is really a communication problem, and there is a problem of representativity also.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, this will conclude the proceedings of the day. We're sitting with a situation that we must attend urgently because this is the last week of the Commission sitting in January. There are outstanding matters raised by the Commission on various issues that we have agreed with the PIC and their legal representatives to have an urgent meeting and to address those matters and perhaps prepare a consolidated answer to the Commission to save time and not bring back all the witnesses. And we need time to do that. If that is acceptable, I will request an adjournment then till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yes, thank you, Advocate Liver. Yes, the Commission will then adjourn until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you.